In my previous video, I discussed solving inequalities, and I want to add some context to that in this video. Talk about solving word problems that involve inequalities. But before we get into solving any specific word problems, I want to talk about first the initial setup, or translating sentences into mathematical statements or to inequalities. So for number one, there's three parts. So let's translate each one of these sentences into an inequality. Now, just like with word problems, it's really important to identify key words in the statement or in the problem that always translate the same way to specific mathematical symbols or specific mathematical operations. So for part A, the height of a member of the basketball team is at least 81 inches. And so the key word here in the context of inequalities is at least. At least 81 inches means 81 or above, 81 or more. So the height of a member of the basketball team has to be 81 or above. That's what at least 81 means. So the height must be greater than or equal to 81. And if we call the height, let's just give it the symbol h, h for height, then our inequality will be h is greater than or equal to 81. All right, so part A was somewhat straightforward. Now let's look at part B. 26 less than 4 times a number must be more than 50. So key word here for the inequality is more than. That means above 50 or greater than 50. So we have 26 less than 4 times a number. So that must be more than, greater than 50. So 26 less than 4 times a number. Well, the number, let's call that x. X is the unknown number. Well, what is 4 times a number? Well, that would be 4 times x. And then we're taking 26 less than that. The one common mistake I've seen many times is trying to translate in the same order as the words appear in English. So in English, the 26 comes first in this statement. But that doesn't mean the 26 comes first in the mathematical equation or the mathematical inequality. When you do 26 less than something, that means you take something and you subtract off the 26. So if you say 26 less than 4 times a number, that would be incorrect because we're not doing 26 less than anything. So this is not right. 26 less than means we have to subtract away the 26. So it would actually be 4 times a number, which is the 4x, minus the 26. So our inequality for part B would be 4x minus 26 is greater than, which is more than, 50. And then for part C, 2 added to half of a number is at most 1. So at most is the key term here for inequalities. At most 1 meaning it cannot be above 1. It could be 1 or less than 1, but it cannot be above 1. So the inequality symbol we'll use here is less than or equal to 1. And what is at most 1? Well, 2 added to half of a number. So again, that number, that unknown number, if we call that x, well, half of a number is x over 2, half of x. And then we're taking 2 added to that. So we're taking the half of a number, and then we're adding 2. So plus 2. So for part C, our inequality would be x over 2 plus 2 is less than or equal to 1. All right, so now that we've talked a little bit about the translation step or the initial setup, let's look at this word problem. Let me scroll up so we have a little bit more room. A salesperson has 2 job offers. Company A offers a weekly salary of $120 plus a commission of 8% sales. All right, so that's company A. Company A is offering a salary of 120 plus 8% of sales. And now company B offers a weekly salary of 240 plus a commission of 4% of sales. What is the amount of sales above which company A's offer is the better of the two? Well, what makes an offer better than another offer? Well, it pays you more money. So we're basically wondering, when does company A's, the payment from company A, when is that more than the payment from company B? All right, so we want to basically say, when is company A greater than company B? And I'll sort of color code the inequality to match up what's underlined in the question. So what does company A pay you? Well, company A pays you a weekly salary of $120. So company A is paying $120 plus a commission of 8% of sales. Well, the unknown here is the amount of sales. What is the amount of sales? So let's say X equals amount of sales. That's the unknown here. All right, so company A is paying you a commission of 8% of sales. That means 8% of X. And remember, of followed by a number is multiplication. So 8% of sales translates to 0.08, which is the 8% of sales. So times X. And now company B. Company B is paying you a higher salary, which is $240 a week, but a lower commission. So $240 plus the commission of 4% of sales. So 4% would be 0.04 of sales, so times the amount of sales, or times X. Okay, now let's switch back to black so we don't have all these colors floating around. But the initial setup, and the colors are based on what's underlined in the problem. Here is a mathematical statement for company A, what they're paying you. Here's a mathematical statement for company B. And we want to know, when is A greater than B? That makes A a better offer. So for what amount of sales, or for what values of X? All right, so our goal is to solve for X. 120 plus 0.08X is greater than 240 plus 0.04X. Just like when we're solving equations, we want to get all of our X's to one side, numbers to the other. So let's get rid of the 0.04X on the right. So we have a plus, so let's do the opposite, minus 0.04X. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. So the positive and the negative will cancel on the right-hand side. So on the right, we're left with just the 240. And on the left, we still have that 120. And the 0.08X minus a 0.04X will give us a overall plus 0.04 X's. Okay, we're getting close to isolating the X. Now we've got all the X's on the left. Let's move all the numbers to the right. So we have a positive 120. Let's get rid of that by subtracting 120 from both sides. On the left, the positive 120, the negative 120, they cancel. So on the left, we're left with just the 0.04X. And on the right, 240 minus 120 is 120. And one last thing to do, we have 0.04 times X. So let's get rid of that by doing the opposite, which is divide by 0.04, both sides. So the 0.04 times 0.04 and the divide by 0.04, they cancel. So on the left-hand side, we're left with just x. And then on the right, we have 120 divided by 0.04. And you could use a calculator for that if you like. That would give you 3,000. So for what amount of sales would company A's offer be better? Well, anything above $3,000 in sales. And again, it's an inequality, so it has infinitely many answers. If your sales are 3,100, A is better. 3,200, A is better. 4,000, A is better. 10,000 in sales, A is better. So there's a range of possible answers, anything above 3,000. All right, that does it for this video. I'm going to split it in two, and the next 3 problems on the worksheet I'm going to put in a separate video. All right, I hope this was helpful.